My name is Sarah Rolf Vondenbaumen. I'm the Vice Chair for the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program this year. Our chair is Laura Richard. She is running a little bit late, but she'll join us as soon as she can. We also have Eric Burnside. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm an architectural designer with Inventure. I was one of the scholars for this previous class that we just wrapped up in May. And what other? Oh, I will be the communications coordinator, so you won't see me too much. But where it comes to helping to update the website with all the fun things that these scholars produce, that'll be my role.
And Liang Wu.
Hi, my name is Leon. I'm a senior project architect at Kirksey Architecture. And like Eric and Sarah, I was a scholar from the 2020 to 2021 class. And I will be the sponsorship advisor. I think that's my official title. But we're all here to answer your questions, should you have any.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. And then we also have Jennifer from the AIA. She's our staff liaison and is here to support in that. So, here's more of our pictures. So like Laura Richard is at Perkins and Will. She went to University of Houston. She was a scholar in the 2019 through 2020 program. So she is here to be our fearless leader. And then Sam McClone is the past chair. So you'll see him around. He might drop in on the info session or he might come into the session. We'll see.
Oh, hey, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Sam.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I was just a couple minutes late.
Oh, no worries. We were just doing introductions. Do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this next year. Glad you all could join us. I'm excited to watch Laura and Sarah run this program this year. And I'm here to help out and answer questions in any way I can. I'll let y'all have at it.
Perfect. Thank you for joining.
Sure.
Okay. So a little bit about Christopher Kelley. He was an active member of the DC architectural community and passed away suddenly in May of 2012. He was a respected leader within the Institute as well as within Gensler's Washington office. Through his volunteer efforts, he participated and contributed to initiatives and programs that have had a positive impact on emerging professionals. In 2010, Christopher was honored with the AIA Young Architects Award. And so this program is intended to continue his legacy and activism. So this is, it was started in Washington, DC, and has since grown to 9 different locations. There's the original concept in DC, and it's grown to Denver, Detroit, Indiana, Miami, Houston, Georgia, Albuquerque, and St. Louis. So it is definitely a growing program and been very successful amongst all of those locations. A little bit of background. So this is from 2016, and it represents the Washington DC demographics, but we've got all the way from tiny firms from 1 to 10 people, all the way to the much larger firms with over 300, with a pretty proportionate split between women and men. And then here's some stats about memberships and accreditations for the scholars across the first couple of years in DC. So very active across the industry. So you might be wondering, the mission of the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program is to train and nurture the next generation of leaders. And we are excited to tell you a little bit more about that. To be eligible for it, you must be an emerging professional. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Christopher Kelley is an offshoot of what was formerly known as the Young Architects Forum, which is now the Emerging Professionals. So we're kind of in that umbrella. Defined as someone who has graduated from college with an architecture degree and is within 10 years of their first licensure. We really encourage and want a diverse class of scholars. So we are excited to invite also some other allied industries into the program, looking for, maybe engineers or construction project managers, developers, even people who have moved on to the owner side, just to further those conversations and really provide a diverse background. Unlicensed applicants are definitely welcome and encouraged to apply. We do request that you be a resident of the Houston, Texas metropolitan area. This year we will be in person. So our boot camp session and all of the presentations that the scholars will organize will be in person.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
I would say that you don't have to be a member of the AIA Houston. It helps if you're nearby, but if you live in Brenham or someplace farther afield, we definitely want to have you, but you do need to just be willing to travel to the info. You will have the same sort of in-person attendance requirements as everybody else.
Thank you. An AIA membership is not required, but it does offer a slightly discounted cost. So, are there any questions so far? It was kind of a lot of info. Not for sure. If you want to drop something in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, or just interrupt. This is definitely a conversation. If we were in person, we would absolutely want you to be interrupting as we go through this, but we'll just continue. So the application materials are all live. The applications went live last Thursday. So you'll see a description on the website about all of the documents that you need. You'll need a letter of interest. Some of these requirements are a little out of date. It'll be the 2021-2022 class, of course. Letters of recommendations, a personal resume, an agreement form completed, signed, and uploaded in PDF format. This is from your firm. Someone in your firm who's in a leadership position who can vouch for the fact that the firm is going to support you in your efforts in the leadership development program. A tuition assistance form. This is more for the individuals who work at a smaller firm who may not have the budget to pay for the scholars' tuition. So, and then there's a series of little mini essay questions that you'll need to upload a response for, all of which are limited to 1,000 characters. Eric, I think do you want to talk a bit about that?
I think it was actually Liang who,
I'm sorry.
but had noticed a little too late that it was 1,000 characters, not 1,000 words. But I think that the big takeaway there, and I think it's intentional for folks to try to be succinct and direct and really think about some very precise answers to these questions.
Good. Hasn't everybody had a chance to look at the application materials? If you have any questions or comments, we would be happy to talk about that here.
To be clear on the letter of interest versus the questions answered, should we avoid answering any of or discussing any of the questions below in the letter of interest, or is it okay to kind of touch on them but go into more detail?
That's a good question. I think your entire application, it's best if it all kind of makes a similar statement. So the questions, the way I approached it is I kind of like read through the questions and formulated a response, and then thought about how to tie all of that into the letter of interest. Like the questions really kind of helped me define what was said in the letter of interest. So it's almost a bit of a summary. So I don't think there's really a limit. Eric, did you have?
So you may not get much more of an answer to these questions in one page in doing that, but I think I would echo what you said, Sarah, about having your application be kind of a theme and not for any particular reason other than it should just be really true to what you're interested in and passionate about. So you don't have to feel pressure to be, broad and well-rounded if really this particular area is the thing. Because, and we'll get more into this later and how the different sessions are organized, but you're going to find your way into a session, the session that you'll help organize based on your very acute interests. So it will help, if that makes sense, that it will help to kind of have your application materials really focus on the things that are most interesting and important to you, if that can come across in your answers and in your letter. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, that was great. Thank you.
And your letters of recommendation, I think we mentioned in the previous session, it also, if you can include folks that you worked with maybe at a previous firm, they don't have to also be industry professionals, but they just can't be, best friend or your parents or something like that.
Yeah, and a piece of advice that I've heard is to kind of formulate what your big message is going to be, like what it is that you want to communicate with your application, and share that with the people that you invite to write a letter of recommendation. That way they kind of know how to help you package everything up into a complete statement. So program commitment. From the scholar, attendance is mandatory for all sessions. So there will be 8 scholar-led sessions, and then the first session is led by the committee. It's the boot camp where we'll all come together. We'll get into that later. So the boot camp and the final session are absolutely mandatory attendance. Of course, things happen. But it is heavily discouraged to miss. I mean, you'll miss the the hard work that your fellow scholars put into designing that session for you, as well as the connections that you'll make, and it really starts to underpin the point of the program. So if you sign up, if you apply, you should be willing to be committed for all of the sessions, and those dates are already available on the website. So go ahead and check that out. There's a fine for the second absence, and then the third absence results in an expulsion. So I don't think that has ever had to happen. Something to keep in mind. You'll get like a public shaming. I'm just kidding. I have no idea. And then your firm has some commitments as well. It is encouraged that your firm pay your tuition, and this is sort of an act in good faith. Like you are going out and doing something to better yourself and better your firm in this business. And the tuition is not a huge commitment for them to make to help you follow through on that eagerness to better yourself, as well as sign an agreement form, which it's just ask, and I can't imagine that they wouldn't be excited to help you better your career and bring all of that good information and knowledge back to the firm. Okay, so here's the dates. They're already available. So a little bit about the schedule. Like we said, the call for applications was live last Thursday, and applications are due on July 23rd. So I believe that is 2 weeks from Friday. We will have a really quick turnaround on the selection process, and then we will announce the scholars on July the 30th, with our boot camp beginning on September the 3rd. So that's a lot to get excited about, and it's all happening very soon. So, well, let me go back. Nope. Okay, we'll just start here. So like we mentioned, there are 8 different sessions that are scholar-led. Of course, there will be 16 scholars, so that means a pair of scholars will each be selected for one of these subject matters. Before we get to boot camp, we'll ask that the selected scholars specify which of these topics they're the most interested in doing a deep dive, researching, finding great presenters, and basically organizing your session. There's a lot of resources to help you do that. So it's a lot of fun, really. So you'll select your top 3 or 4, and then we will behind the scenes figure out, who gets to go to which category, and then make that announcement at boot camp. Yes, please.
This was something that was, I missed these info sessions when I applied, and so it was a little bit cryptic to me to learn this, but there are the 4 questions that you're prompted to ask as part of your application, but after acceptance, that's where the committee wants to find out a little bit about your particular interests regarding each of these categories. So this diagram, hopefully it's a very clear diagram, but the depth of the color indicates that person's kind of intense interest or opinions that they've shared about with regard to what they know, have experienced, or want to share with the rest of the scholars in this group, so that those 2 scholars can then be paired together to develop that session. Does that make sense? That was maybe a little something I learned kind of on the fly and adjusted to, but is a very neat way to figure out who's working together. So it's a little matchmaking.
Yeah, and this is Sam. I would add that we do our best to make sure that everybody's happy with the session they got. Some years, like last year, it worked out that kind of, I think everybody ended up getting kind of their first choice. But if for some reason, like, you are in the program and you get your 3rd choice, like, it's not a fault to you. There's only so many things that we can kind of make happen in the background.
Thanks. Does anybody have any questions about that process? We're going to dive in a little bit to each of these different sessions. Okay, so you can go ahead and pick out which ones you want to identify as your top 3. Okay, so before we get into the individual sessions, some things that you'll have to think about. Since we're going to be in person, you'll have to pick a location to host your session. This could be somewhere like really cool and unique. It could be a very generous product rep who opens up their space for you. Having not done any sessions in person, Sam might be able to speak to this a little bit better about some successful selections.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, we've gone to old fire stations, we've gone to attorneys' offices, we've had sessions at a escape room, we've had kind of anywhere and everywhere that you can think. There's no kind of right or wrong answer to like where these sessions can occur. We want you to pick something that you find that's interesting. And it doesn't necessarily have to relate to your session, but it could. But it's just kind of about getting out and seeing Houston, understanding the city, and then, having some fun with this and kind of putting your personal spin on each session.
And to kind of go with that, the scholar will be responsible for fundraising for that session. So that is something to keep in mind when picking out different spaces that you can use. The committee, through its own fundraising efforts, will provide lunch and cookies and coffee for every session, but the scholars will need to find and be able to pay for the actual venue and potentially parking if parking isn't free in whatever area that you choose. So then the next thing to think about is your program. So each session will be about 5 hours plus a happy hour. So within that 5 hours, you might have a panel of different industry experts. You could have a site tour of a recently completed facility or something that ties into the theme of your session. There have been some really cool activities in person in the past. Again, Sam might be able to speak to that better. But there's a lot of resources on AI on previous Christopher Kelley pages that could give you some ideas about what to do if you're not already brimming with them. And then speakers. So last year's sessions were all virtual. So we had what could be considered a benefit of being able to pull in speakers nationally, creating some really diverse panels and just some outsider insights. You know, Houston's a very small community. I don't know that we would discourage doing that again this year. Of course, all of the scholars would be in person, so you could have outside of the community people present virtually, or also if you were able to fundraise enough to have them come in, stay the night and pay whatever fees that they request. Other than that, there's so many interesting people in Houston that are doing awesome things. You can bring in other architects or leaders in the industries that we sort of identify in the different sessions. So the sky's the limit. It doesn't need to just, it doesn't have to be just architects or someone local. Eric?
I guess one thing that one new challenge would be like if you find a speaker, you know, presenting virtually, but we are meeting in person, like some say escape room, that we might have to then, or the organizer have to come up with the, you know, the equipment to do this virtual meeting, you know. So
it's very true. Any questions about that? And we'll, once we get to boot camp, we'll share a lot more information about how to put together a session and what details go into that. But if this is something that you're on the fence about, like, please ask a question. We'll be happy to answer anything. We can always come back at the end. Okay, so we'll start with boot camp. This is our session 0. This is the session that the committee will organize. We'll pick a place and get some, you know, there'll be some surprises. This is when all the scholars will get to meet each other and brainstorm about how the sessions are going to lay out for the rest of the year. So the first session that we'll
Sorry,
have.
if I can
please
interrupt for a second.
Yes.
Can you go back to that one?
I don't know that I can do that.
Oh, well, the boot camp one, this ties into the session planning one. And what we did last year, and I think has been done in past sessions, is just with a big old marker and notepad. So the scholars, as they're assigned to organize a session, will also take input from the rest of the scholars, like, so let's say the working together session topic. The other 14 scholars in the program are going to have interests about what that topic could also relate to. So as you're coming away from boot camp, each pair of scholars will have a list of notes of all the things that we talked about in boot camp that other people are also interested in learning, and you can feed off of that to make sure that, one, it's just an idea generator and helps create a really well-rounded, take all the diverse ideas and perspectives in the program and put it into the session. That's what that kind of that notepad image there is showing. So you don't have to just completely pull a fully formed program out of your brain. You'll get to use the opinions and perspectives of everybody in the program.
Thank you. It looks like Laura's joined us. Laura, do you want to introduce yourself and talk about the rest of the sessions?
If you don't mind, can you keep going?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Thanks. Oh, hi everyone. I'm Laura Richard. I'm the chair for this year. And Sarah's my vice chair and she's gonna keep going.
Okay, great. So the first session we'll have is working together. This one could broach any types of topics. For our session last year, we and I believe most of them. This is the session that the escape room pops up the most in, and also a DISC assessment. Essentially, the idea for working together is just learning how to do just that. I don't know, this one's pretty self-explanatory. There's not a lot of black and white. Liang, Sam, I don't know if y'all want to chime in.
Yeah, the DISC assessment, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's basically kind of like a personality test. You know, there are a series of questions being sent out to the scholars beforehand, and then you complete you know, you just, you know, answer them, and then you get some sort of like assessment at the end, and place you in one of the 4 quadrants. And then during the session, one of the speakers is a DISC certified, I don't know what's the name for that, certified person or whoever, you know, and she will go through these different types of personalities and talk about the strengths and weaknesses. That's usually like about half or a third of that particular session, right?
Which is valuable, but it's not a requirement for those that are planning this session. You know, working together, it's relative to the immediate design team, clients, and other project stakeholders, developers, contractors, consultants, financial institutions. You know, this could take many different turns.
And I think they probably place this first and as an optional thing is because the first session is typically only 1 month right before the boot camp. So there's like, it's shorter time to, let's say, come up with a whole new brand agenda or speakers or something, you know. So this is one option to help the first session get started. Sorry, Eric, you were going to say something.
Oh.
I was going to say the exact same thing as you.
Okay.
But then if you choose to do the first session, you can sit back and enjoy the other 9 or 8.
So the next section is entrepreneurship in business management. This one focuses on how architecture firms are started, make a profit, and transition ownership over time. So some subjects that might be for consideration are marketing and business development. Could see that being a pretty rich conversation. Liang, is this the one that you guys, one of the 2 that y'all had?
Yeah, we did do that, and my partner brought a speaker, and he's not even an architect. I think he just talked about, you know, like how to sell your idea to your client. And the speaker I brought on board is an architectural marketer, professional architecture marketer. So she talked about how to write articles, how to you know, turn one article into several different versions that you can post. Have it tailored to different platforms, you know.
And it can be other types of architecture or businesses. I know that this was not the same session for our program, but there was someone who headed up an architectural nonprofit. So it doesn't have to be, you know, entrepreneurship and business management does sound like a business school course, and if that, but it can be as wide ranging as you can imagine.
Yeah, and then also some other speakers from other sessions during our year might be, I think that the AIA board member, she has a podcast, and she has many episodes that touches upon these topics too, you know. So I can't even now I can't remember where I learned some of these ideas from, whether it's through the actual sessions or through the podcasts, you know.
The art of negotiation is one. So you can see here, things get pretty tense sometimes. This one feels a little self-explanatory too. I don't know that we really had an art of negotiation in ours. I think we had a presenter that talked about it, but it feels like a really great opportunity for some interactivity and getting to know your classmates better.
I would wanted to address a question in the chat that
yes.
speakers can be virtual. It's just, it will need to be, you'll have to coordinate to make sure that your venue, you know, has the ability to host a Zoom meeting, which is a pretty low bar to get over these days, but just keep it in mind.
And I guess also, it's understood that the speaker would have to be live, you know, ideally,
Yeah.
right? Like, otherwise, it's no different than, say, listen to a podcast or watch a video together, you know.
Yeah, and the best sessions really have some interaction at the end, whether or not it's a Q&A.
Yeah,
kind of hard to get from a live. Community engagement and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is the first year that, well, no, I'm sorry. Diversity, equity, inclusion was a segment that was introduced last year in the Houston class, and it is now a permanent part of community engagement. So, you know, this could range from anything: community involvement in the role of volunteerism, professional expectations for social responsibility and public service, types of involvement, ways to get involved, to what extent should a firm be involved, and then the impact to the bottom line. You know, and so many of these have so much overlap, and you'll find that when you get to your brainstorming session that like some ideas just keep popping up again and again. So like Eric, y'all had a wonderful that lady who does all of that nonprofit work talked about what her career path has been like, but it was really inspiring to do something with community engagement. And that wasn't even part of your topic, was it?
Well, it was partly our session focused a lot on sustainability, but then a big component, you know, one leg of the sustainability stool is community sustainability. So I think that's kind of how that got in there. Yeah, so it, again, yeah, as you pointed out, is if you did not get assigned, say, your top choice session, there's probably a way to shoehorn your favorite thing into the program.
Closing the deal. So business and professional communications, including public relations, presentation, writing, and professional speaking skills. Trending now. This one, wow, you could make anything out of it that you wanted to, pretty much. Anything that you find exciting that's happening in our industry or outside of our industry, just in the world, like bring that energy and that excitement to your session. And some potential examples could be old, but what people are doing new with building information modeling, integrated project delivery, some focus on sustainability, and then what's happening with technology, like how can you start to integrate virtual reality or augmented reality into your designs and presentations. Or it could be just new, like what are the new business paths that people are taking? There's lots of opportunities. And then expanding the definition of practice. So this one would also be a great one to start talking about different career paths that architects take, or just what architects are doing with their education and their training outside of just the traditional roles. And then future of our culture. This is another one that you could really kind of just pour your heart into. This was actually one of the ones that we had as part of our session, and we had the speaker that Liang mentioned, Evelyn Lee. She's the lead like the user experience creator for Slack Technologies and the host of Practices Disrupted podcast. She's got some really great ideas and has wonderful guests come on her podcast that really explores all the facets of the architectural industry's culture and how it can grow and what is moving into. We're at a really exciting time period, like you know, coming out of COVID and what that means for our workplaces and the future of our workplaces. Like I think we really have the chance to explore how we can change things in the future. So that's it.
It seems like we have more slides this week than we did last week, right?
I found the other session slides. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So this group here has an advantage.
I think we have some pre-prepared Q&As, right?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So while everybody is thinking of all their questions, do I have to be licensed? No, you do not. You do not have to be licensed. I think that it's generally asked that you be within 10 years of your licensure or into your career. It's really kind of a gray line. So, you know, just if you have something very specific, just reach out and ask. It's not really that rigid. Do I have to be an AIA member? No, you do not have to be an AIA member, but there is a slight discount for tuition if you are. Do I have to be an architect? No. If you're unlicensed, you do not. You can apply, and then like we mentioned earlier, those in the allied fields are definitely invited. We're excited for all of those different viewpoints and office cultures. Like it's just great to learn from people who aren't necessarily in the same track that you're on. How much is tuition? So for AIA members, it's $415, and then for AIA members, it is it is $500. And then if you are from a smaller firm who cannot provide that full 415 or 500, you can fill out the tuition assistance and maybe get that lowered down to 200, which is a bit smaller of an ask. CKLDP should provide over 40 CEU hours, but not all of those will be health, safety, and welfare. But that's a good benefit if you're not getting those CEUs in your office life. So again, with the tuition assistance, and it's at the discretion of the selection committee. But I don't know too much about that. Laura, I'm not sure. Do you have any details about that? Or if you have any questions, just send those over and we can find the answer for you.
About tuition assistance? No, is Sam still on?
I think he left.
Okay, I think he would know more about that.
So what should I put on my application? Laura, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but Laura, you had a really great take on this last week. Do you mind sort of sharing that?
Sure. So for your application, there's going to be the essay questions, and there's going to be, your letters of recommendation. And what what we would like to see is just your personality and what's important to you as a professional and as a leader come out in your application materials across and be consistent. So we want it to be consistent from your letters of recommendation all the way through, the way you answer kind of the essay questions. So just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're writing everything, to kind of, before you start, kind of think about what's important to you as a leader and what you want, what you kind of want to get out of this program, and let your application reflect that. I think that's one of the most important things that you can take from, that you get from coming to the info session versus not coming to the info session, is you get this little tidbit about, how to make you have a really great application.
But keep it under 1,000 characters.
Yes. And don't forget that the essay questions are 1,000 characters, not words.
And space and punctuation counts too.
Yes.
Yeah, and this consistency between the different things, different parts of your application is not as difficult as it sounds, because there are prompts for essay and then for the different questions, and some of the prompts are similar. So I think for me, the hardest part was to narrow it down to 1,000 characters for each question, for each answer. I was like, man, that 1,000 characters runs out quickly.
Also, the group that's here tonight should also think about in your applying, if being on this committee in the future is something that would interest you. It's a way to get involved with the AIA. The reason why all of us are on the committee is that this program has to be kept alive by the participating scholars. So there's no central hand that comes down and makes sure that the program keeps running. So keep that in mind. There's no commitment made by just being in the program, but it's if that's something that interests you, it's also strongly encouraged for you to pursue that.
And help us spread the word too. If you have a friend who might be interested, let them know as well. It's open to all AEC young emerging professionals. It doesn't have to be young, right? If it's a second career. So it's a relative term.
Just so everyone knows, on the CKLDP website, on the application preview, like you can preview the application there, and the questions are also there.
And person, Christina Morales, asked, is there a type of certification provided when completing the program? Not a paper form of, not a formal one, but the scholars are recognized on the website. You
will get like a certificate.
Oh, is there a certificate? Oh, okay.
We didn't get a certificate.
We didn't get a certificate.
Well, we usually give them out at the closing ceremony, but because we haven't had it yet.
Ah, okay.
Plus,
I haven't gotten mine either.
And one thing we haven't mentioned is that in addition to all the great things that you'll learn and hopefully a bit of potentially renewed passion into areas that you're interested in or further exploring, it's just like network building. You will meet and get to see on a consistent basis 15 of your peers in the industry. and also the committee members and any other outside guests that are brought in. Like, it's just a great way to expose yourself to new ideas and new people and make new connections.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Is there any preference given to people with more experience in the profession?
No.
Nope. We really value the diversity and background. Whether or not, you know, a person who is 2 to 3 years out of school or 1 year out of school has a much different sort of lens than someone who has 10 years of experience. So it's good to have lots of different viewpoints and perspectives.
Thank you.
Well, we hope to see all your applications, and you know, email us. Is our email addresses posted online somewhere?
Why don't we just drop them in the chat real quick?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, where are some of the venues that you all have had these events before?
We've had them at law firms. We had a session hosted at Big Brothers Big Sisters last year, or not last year, the year before last. We had a session hosted at WeWork. Just different places. They don't necessarily have to be interesting, but just, you know, a big enough room that can accommodate everyone, that has the technology that you need. Whenever you're picking a place, you need to think about is parking available. You know, if you need to pay for parking, that's something that you can try to get a sponsor for. Basically, it's just a place that needs to be able to have all the capabilities for you to host your session and whatever activities. One of them was at an escape room, like they had like a kind of meeting room that we used. And then another one was at an architecture firm. It was at MetaLab. They had like a meeting space that we used. Just different places.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, thank you.
No problem.
Someone asked if there's going to be any COVID precautions being taken for this event. I think the rule of thumb is we're going to follow CDC's recommendation, right? If things get worse, this could turn virtual. Hopefully that's not the case, but you know, but I think right now is if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear masks indoor. Is that right from CDC, right? So I hope everybody's vaccinated and by now. But if you have concerns, if you really want to attend, but you have concerns about meeting in person, do let us know as well. I mean, you know, we are also, this is new for us as well, right? So.
Yeah, we're just gonna, like you said, we're gonna follow CDC recommendations and just everyone hope that it doesn't get worse so that we can, you know, move forward with doing this in person again. That's our goal.
Do you guys know our names or our firm names when we're applying?
Yes. We try to have a diverse group of scholars in terms of, you know, your gender, your firm, as in large firm, small firm, not an architect. We also take into account, you know, diversity. There's a lot of factors that go into the selection of the scholars.
I was wondering also if there is any kind of coordination with other parts of the country and the programs that they're having there, if there's kind of some mingling that happens between those groups or not.
Yes, we have a national call that happens like every month. And so we all kind of collaborate and, do lessons learned and just kind of give an update on what we're doing with our program and stuff like that.
For the committee, we're exploring an option to use the practice of architecture lab, which is part of Evelyn Lee's whole spiel, for the scholars to have a place to chat and share information locally as well across all the programs, both for your year and then after the fact. But we haven't quite settled on that. Would that be something that would be interesting for y'all? Like, would you like the opportunity to be able to connect with other scholars across the country?
Yes, very much so.
I think that would be interesting if it's possible.
Awesome. It's kind of like a clubhouse or a Facebook group for young leaders in architecture.
Thank you all for your time.
Joining. We're excited to see all of y'all's applications in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Don't forget to pick mine. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.